Georgia Bulldogs broke their championship drought by knocking off Alabama, right?
Correct. I can confirm. Yeah. Kelly Ringo at the horn with the pick six. He's back, by the way, in a secondary that's missing some key guys from last year's run, but still has a lot of experience back there. There's a lot of experience for Georgia in general, even with the cavalry that got drafted from Georgia.
They broke an NFL record. 15 guys were drafted.
Yes.
So for as long as it has been a 7-round draft as opposed to like a 12-round draft.
Yep.
Georgia is now the record holder with 15 guys drafted in all 7 rounds, which is remarkable, incredible. Bunch of guys went in the first round. It was like 5 guys went in the first round. Whatever it was.
Right.
A lot of guys from this defense especially went. And I think if you are trying to figure out what's Georgia look like in 2022, you got to start there. You got to start there. It has to be a little bit blurry, even though we know recruiting's been very, very strong.
Yeah, the blurriness is going to come from a number of different places, maybe the inside of their offensive line, perhaps, without James Cook and Zamir White carrying the load in the backfield, but Kendall Milton's there. We'll see with Kenny McIntosh, who was just arrested for reckless driving, but, they have guys. They constantly have guys all over the place. So they lose Jermaine Burton, one of their biggest weapons on the outside, but whether it's Dominic Blaylock emerging after injury, Karis Jackson, there are guys out wide for Stetson Bennett, which is a nice place to be, right? That Georgia's recruited so well that there's just guys who will step in. Kendall Milton was a former 5-star. He's been working out more at not at receiver, but in the pass game, and he had a nice longer catch in the spring game. And you got Brock Bowers, you have Darnell Washington, now Eric Gilbert. Like, there are just a ton of red zone options, a ton of 3rd and 7 options, and even if they don't have a game changer deep in the way that, at his best George Pickens was when healthy, Georgia's going to be in a pretty great place on offense, all things considered, with the continuity that's still there. But you mentioned the defensive stuff because of just the cavalcade of names that made their way to the NFL this past weekend as we record this a few days ago. Jalen Carter's still on that defensive line on the inside and will still dominate. Nolan Smith was the number 1 overall recruit. I believe in 2018 he decided to come back for his 4th, 5th year, whatever the year is. He's been around for a while and hasn't necessarily popped in the way that he was expected, but has a good amount of experience. Chris Smith in the back of that defense. So we'll see at linebacker, but it's one of those things too, Ty, that, and we know this better than anybody, not better than anybody, but as much as anybody, when you beat teams 44-7, those backups get a ton of snaps in those second halves. And when you're winning comfortable games and you rotate guys in as much as Georgia did on that defense last year, and that's, Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning was the coordinator last year, Glenn Schumann was a co-defensive coordinator. He assumes a bigger role with Lanning off to Oregon. These guys aren't full-time 2021 starters, but the guys who are stepping into those roles are not green. So it's really hard to look at Georgia and say, man, there are some huge questions. They're in good shape, Ty. They're fine. Yeah. So that's where Georgia stands essentially at the moment, that like if they can get some more action out wide to take some of the tension away from the tight end room, they'll be in a good position. And even if they don't, like, Stetson Bennett's still probably going to scramble for a bunch of 3rd and 8 first downs.
And I was going to say, you didn't even mention Stetson Bennett's name.
Right, totally.
A moment ago.
Yeah.
And I think so much of the conversation will be around him coming back.
Yep.
Defending that title as part of the Georgia Bulldogs as a starting quarterback. But, it's so much more than just Stetson Bennett on this Georgia team.
Yeah.
There's a moment in time where Stetson Bennett as a quarterback of this team would not have been good enough.
Yeah.
Where you needed somebody who could perhaps do more physically, do more as a quarterback in general.
Mm-hmm.
But this team is so good around him, especially on the defensive side of the ball, regardless of the names that walked out the door. Maybe there'll be a minor step backwards.
Right.
This team is so good beyond Stetson Bennett that clearly they are the favorites to win the SEC East again, maybe the SEC in general.
Sure.
And you have to feel really good about where they're at. It's been a great time to be a dog.
Great time. I mean, they didn't win the SEC last year, so it'll be a nice change, even though they won the national championship. No, they're going to be very strong, and the fact that the continuity exists, even with Dan Lanning going to Oregon, It's a terrific sign for this Georgia team. And by the way, if for whatever reason, if Stetson Bennett gets hurt, hope he doesn't, knock on wood. If he doesn't perform, if there's still the afterglow of winning a national championship as like a longtime Georgia fan, Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, blue chip quarterbacks behind him waiting in the wings. So we'll see. And now Eric Gilbert added to the mix as he gets back into shape, as he was a 5-star tight end coming out of high school, transfers into Georgia from LSU. There's every opportunity to succeed on an even bigger level for this offense. Good.
So not a lot blurry through the eye.
Not a ton blurry. If a team forces them to have winter wonders outside, whoever that team is, if it's somebody before Alabama, that could be interesting to keep safeties back and stretch the field. That to me is the one open question that I'm like, I don't know. Is it Karis Jackson? I don't know. But beyond that, no, they're fine.
Beyond that, they're fine. They still got Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers
didn't play during spring,
yeah.
but yeah, he'll be great. Best tight end in the country.